Caitlyn Jenner, what does the publication of this book mean to you? I mean, is it the beginning and the end of explaining?
Actually, that's an interesting question. It is kind of the beginning and the end. 2 years ago, after a lifelong struggle, I had many conversations with many people, and I'm a person of faith, also my pastor and God, and on and on and on, and finally came to the decision that, okay, it's time. This woman, Caitlyn, has lived inside of me all of my life. It's time to give her a chance. Let's see what she can do. Bruce pretty much did everything. And so in that process, I had a few things that I had to do. I was getting hammered in the tabloids, I mean, for years and years and years. And with all these rumors and stuff that they knew nothing about. And I had paparazzis following me everywhere. It was horrible. And I had to tell my story. But right now, my story was kind of in the gutter, you know, unfortunately, where a lot of trans issues are. And I had to take it up to that next level. Okay, I had to do it right.
Which is why you then wrote the book. But there's a kind of, at the heart of this book, I think there's an overwhelming sadness in a way that, in a sense, you've had to live so much of your life outwardly to the world as everything's fine, and yet there's been this incredible subterfuge so that actually you can have all the adulation outside, but what actually matters to you is 20 minutes in a Marriott hotel or wherever, where you can secretly be who you are.
Yeah, who you are. That was a constant struggle. And even after the games, many years ago, I remember the next morning getting up and looking in the mirror and putting a gold medal around my neck, and, you know, didn't have a stitch of clothes on, and I'm looking at the mirror and I said, oh my God, did I build up such a character here that I'm stuck with him for the rest of my life? You know, because it doesn't represent, that's not me. It's not who I am. And it really scared me. I'm thinking, okay, my gosh, what's next? Where do I go from here? I have, first of all, no regrets whatsoever on my life. I have lived the most fascinating, wonderful, great life. I have the ultimate double. Olympic decathlon champion, Glamour's Woman of the Year award. Come on, that's a double, girl.
Yes, that might be a double.
That's a double.
That might be a double.
So I've lived this fascinating life, being able to see life from both sides. So I have no regrets. I kind of did it my way.
But on that front, I mean, there have been so much difficulty in amongst all that. You had your 2 marriages, and then you were on the way to transitioning, and you stopped.
I couldn't go any further. This is, I thought I was going to do this before I was 40. I didn't want to be old and do it. And I got to 39, and I just couldn't go any further. I had been on hormones for years. I had electrolysis done, a few little things done, and trying to feel just a little bit better about myself. And I couldn't go any further. I just had to stop. And I had spent about 6 years in my house all by myself, just going out once in a while to get groceries or go to work. And I wasn't a good parent at the time. I had 4 kids, and I just wasn't good. I was too wrapped up in myself. And so,
had you told your
in
children,
me, it wasn't time.
But had you told your children then, would it have been different? Might they have given you the support that you needed to carry on?
It wasn't about my kids at this time. It was about me. And times were different then. The only person I had really before that was been Renee Richards in the United States, which was 1977. This is 10 years later. And the way society was, she really got hammered. You know, I mean, they were not nice to her, and I was afraid that was going to happen. And over the next 30 years, this issue has come forward. And there was a lot of people ahead of me who had gone before me, from in the States, Laverne Cox and Janet Mock, and done wonderful books, and they were great representatives of our community. And I thought, you know what, at this time and place and time, everything in my life was in play. I'd raised all my children, every one of them were doing great. Maybe I can do this now and kind of add my name to that conversation and bring this issue forward.
But you couldn't, because then you went on, married again, and had more children.
Well, yeah, that was in 1989. After 6 years of rotting, to say the least, sneaking around, I couldn't do it, and I thought I just got to get back into life. You know, I got to get back. I'm just rotting out here. And so about 4 or 5 months after that, I was set up on a blind date with Chris, and we hit it off from day one. I was honest with her. You know, obviously I had to be. I've been on hormones for 4.5 years. I was honest with her. I'm sure I downplayed it quite a bit. You know, that was a long time ago. I'm sure I downplayed it quite a bit because I just been through all these terrible years, and I'm not going that direction. I just can't go that direction. And, you know, we had a great relationship for a very long time. We raised wonderful children. You know, we had 2 more with Kendall and Kylie, and life was very good. But then after 23 years together, it was a mutual decision to go our separate directions, and there was no arguing, no nothing. We went our separate directions, and then I thought, oh my God, here I am back where I started.
I'm going to do it this time.
Yeah. I didn't, at the time when we left, I was not planning on transitioning. That was not the reason for leaving at all. I just had to get out of the house. I just had to have my freedom. The house that, you know, Chris and I had was a very busy place.
Really?
Yes, a very busy place. And for me, who really needed my privacy, and I, just to be myself, I couldn't get it there. There'd be 15 people in the house every day, and on and on and on.
You talk about the fact that the media have been after you and so forth, and you talk about a moment where you were about to have an operation to reduce your Adam's apple, and it got out. I think it might have been TMZ, I'm not sure.
TMZ, yes.
And
good
at
old
that point,
Harvey Levin, yes.
You felt very low. Did you actually feel suicidal?
Yeah, I think everybody, the big problem we have in our community, especially is for young people, is suicide. It's 41% of all trans youth before the age of 21 attempt suicide. The list goes on and on. It's very difficult on a lot of kids. And I really never had those thoughts until much later in life. And I was getting hounded by the media, to say the least. And I was back out in Malibu, and I thought, you know what, I could sneak in. I hated looking in the mirror and seeing my tracheal. And I could get a little shave, and I thought, you know what, nobody could ever notice that. It's just not a big deal. And so I went in for an appointment under a phony name, and you name it. I do everything to try to be secretive. And sure enough, the doctor that I went into, his partner on the other side, I guess had done Harvey Levin's boyfriend's face and knew Harvey, and Harvey had heard, because they got their spies everywhere, that I was in that office. And next thing you know, I get a phone call from him and saying, oh, I hear you're going in for a tracheal shave. That's the beginning of a transition. And I'm driving down the highway, and I'm going, Harvey, don't do this. I said, it destroys lives. You know, don't print this stuff. And so that night, I was home, walking up and down at 3 o'clock in the morning, walking up and down the hallway in my little house, and knowing that this is probably going to come out tomorrow. And honestly, at that point, I didn't really want to deal with it, because I knew the paparazzis would be going crazy on me, the stories would be off the wall. And, you know, I thought that, yeah, you know what, the easy thing is, you know, hey, just end it right here, end the story. It's been a great life. You know, end the story right here, and then I don't have to deal with all this crap. And, you know, obviously I didn't. But that was that and my conversation with God were kind of the turning points. Where the next day I thought, wasn't that stupid, thinking about something like that? Why would you silence your voice? You have such a platform here to reach out to a very marginalized community. You know, why don't you do something good here?
You talk about faith. That's the second time you mentioned. I wonder if it's very important to you. And was it faith and therapy, or was faith in a way your therapy?
Well, I've been in therapy all my life. So, yeah. All through the 80s, I was in therapy, trying to figure myself out. And then got back, when Chris and I went our separate directions, I got back into therapy, and which is great. It makes you sit down and think about who you are and what you're doing. The faith thing came, I used to always explain it like to my children. I would say, okay, let me do this. And everybody knew, but nobody talked about it. And so to try to get them to understand this issue, I would say, look, okay, God is looking down and he's making little Bruce. So he's looking down and he says, okay, what are we going to do with this one? Well, let's give him a good-looking guy. Let's make him a good-looking guy. Let's make him intelligent, hard driving. I like all those qualities. Let's make this one athletic. That's kind of cool. Oh, in fact, you know what's even cooler? Let's make him really athletic, okay? And so God is handing out all these wonderful qualities for little Bruce. And then he sits back in his chair and he goes, wait a second. Look at all these wonderful qualities. You know, everybody's got their stuff. You know, they got something, some challenge that they have to have. And God chuckles and goes, let's give this one the soul of a female and let's see how she does. And so that was pretty much my life. I would sit there in church and listen to my pastor, and no matter what he was saying, I'd always sit there and wonder, God, why did you do that? Since I kind of framed it that way.
It never shook your faith.
I'm sorry?
It never shook your faith.
Yes, and why would you do this to me? Is there a reason? Am I doing a good job? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And that was, I thought about that an awful lot until finally I had my pastor come out to the house. And it was kind of like one of the last hurdles I had to get over. And so I brought him out, and the tabloids have been ragging on me, so he didn't know what we were going to talk about, but he certainly had seen all the stuff out there. And we sat down, and we sat for 3 hours and talked about faith and talked about everything that was going through my head. And that night when I went to bed, I thought, you know what? Maybe this is the reason God put me on this earth. At this time in this place.
You talk about having a soul of a woman. And the thing is that the LGBTQ is a minefield about language. And I wonder how you describe yourself now. Do you describe yourself now as a woman or a trans woman? And is there a difference?
Oh, there's difference, yes. No, I go with, and a lot of times you will be criticized for this because there's a lot of opinions in the trans community. But I am very comfortable with I am a trans woman. My journey to womanhood was different than cis women, than 99.9% of the people that are out there. My journey was different. Doesn't make me any less or any more, but my journey was different. And so in that case, I'm very comfortable with that. I mean, there's so many things of womanhood I will not experience. But that's okay. I still now, at my age, can enjoy being myself.
Germaine Greer put her foot back into this controversy. She'd been in it before, but she put her foot into this controversy last year in Australian television. She was actually talking about you. I don't believe that a man who has lived for 40 years as a man and has had children, it's not fair for the man to decide that he is a woman.
I can see that, and I respect that opinion, and you're absolutely right. I will never bear children. I have a lot of children, but I wasn't on the other end, okay? But that doesn't make me any less of who I was. It's like this woman living inside me has been there all my life. It's time to let her live. It's time to give her a chance. To be honest with you, Bruce did about everything Bruce could do. There really wasn't much left for him, okay? Won the games, raised wonderful children, did all these different things, was a really good person. But he pretty much had accomplished all his tasks. Now, if she now can live, and I'm playing in the fourth quarter of life, if she can live, let's see what she can do. What a great opportunity, for me to kind of revitalize my life and live it honestly and be in a position and have a platform where I can make a difference. And that's what it's all about.
And making that difference presumably extends to laws as well as attitudes for LGBTQ people.
Right.
And I want to come on to Donald Trump.
No.
Yes, I certainly do. Because you are a Republican. And
oh God, yes. Honestly, that was more difficult to come out as Republican than it was as trans.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, you're also a supporter of Donald Trump, and at first he said he did during the campaign support the idea that LGBTQ people could use, for example, the restrooms that they wished, and that now has been rescinded. He's turned turtle on that. Mm-hmm. And what do you think about that? That's the kind of thing that you should be campaigning on?
I do campaign on it. Yeah, I'm all over all that stuff. There is a political side to this, obviously. I did talk to Trump. First of all, people say, "Oh, you're a supporter of Donald Trump." No, I am. I like the Republican Party because I believe in limited government, and I believe in the people of this country, not the government. If we're going to get out of all these messes we're in, it's going to be the people that are going to do it, not government. More government is like the worst thing you can do. So the Republican Party, although they have very disappointed me over the years, does a better job with that. And Trump was our candidate. So obviously I'm going to vote for him. And I did. I thought he would be pretty good when it comes to LGBTQ issues. I talked to him during the campaign, and he mentioned our rights at the convention and was doing some things that I thought, he's going to be okay. He supported a girl named Jenna Telekova, who in 2012, before all of this, was in the Canadian Miss Universe pageant, which Trump owned. And he supported her, and he said, hey, if she makes it to the finals, she's in. I got no problem with this. So yeah, it looked pretty good. I did go back to the inauguration. I talked to him. There was mostly other people that I want to make contact with, because being in the Republican side, I do a lot of stuff politically, but it's all, 90% of it is behind closed doors. That's the way I roll, that's the way I work, that's the way I like doing things. I've been in town and met with like 15 evangelical Christian conservative Republican senators and congressmen, sat down, had dinner with them. I'm sure all of them had never met anybody who's trans. They don't understand the issues, and I can make progress that way. I specifically went back because I wanted to meet Mike Pence, Vice President Pence, because when he was governor, he came up with some very anti-LGBT issues. And I'm sure he's never met anybody who was trans. And actually, I had a nice conversation with him and set it up. Eventually, I will sit down and have dinner with him and his wife, quietly, to talk about the issues. I feel like I can get more done that way. Now, Trump, on that hand, as soon as he gets in there, one of the first things he does is, Obama had put in this Title IX equality. It started out originally as equality for women in sports and has kind of branched out into many areas. And he put down some federal guidelines, which I think is important when it comes to dealing with LGBT issues and trans issues. And he rescinded that, and it just really ticked me off. I mean, I did tweeting about it, I went public about it.
But have you had any response from him at all?
No. He wants me to go play golf with him, but unfortunately when he did that, I can't, because I would be destroyed by my community.
But isn't that the best way to get to him on the golf course?
I totally agree. From my standpoint, I would spend 4 hours with him and say, hey, what the hell are you doing?
Well, do it.
Yeah. Well, I would get hammered. I would rather do it now privately.
And you will?
Oh, and I will. I guarantee you I will. Do it privately. Actually, he just came up yesterday. I saw an article that trans people who are in military academies, West Point, stuff like that, they can graduate, but they can't serve. I go, are you kidding me? What a bunch of idiots these people are. I am proud of my community. First of all, that they would want to serve. We have trans guys, front lines in Afghanistan, just great Marines, great people, doing great work, okay? And I'm proud of my community for doing that they would want to do that. We have trans women in the background. We have trans women that are in the military, okay? And they got to be really quiet about it now. And I'm proud of my community for doing that, and they should be honored for doing that. And yeah, to have this come out saying that you can graduate from a military academy and then but not being able to serve, to me that's just absolutely stupid. And I got to find out. I'm going back tomorrow. Don't you worry. I'll be looking into this next week.
But you have had adversity in the family towards your own position, and it's not actually the Kardashians and the Caitlyn Jenners I'm going to talk about here. I wonder if you were upset. You had a letter from an elderly aunt who kind of...
Oh, yes,
and
yes.
And I wonder how you felt about that. Did you just dismiss that whole idea?
My Aunt Ellie, I love my Aunt Ellie. She's great. Yeah, she writes in the book. Well, we put in the book. She wrote me a letter. And yeah, she was disappointed the way I was projected on Keeping Up with the Kardashians as kind of this weak, behind-the-scenes guy who, with all these very strong women, and I played in the background. To be honest with you, a lot of that is true, okay? I had no trouble being in the background. I liked being in the background. I didn't do that show because I want to be a celebrity, or I've already done that. I've been doing it for 40 years. I did it for my kids, to give them an opportunity to kind of be out there. And they, you know, being a celebrity is a business, and they've done extraordinarily well in doing that.
You say in the book, and you talk about this, about the loneliness. It's kind of, I suppose it's like the loneliness of being in a crowd for many, many years.
Yeah.
That deep down you were very lonely. And I wonder, was that very debilitating for you?
No, I wouldn't say debilitating. I was okay with it. I had my things. I played golf. I had my little RC helicopters at the time. I had things in life that I enjoyed doing. I went and did that. And so, and I didn't really deal that much with the family stuff. Chris was like very strong. She took care of all of that. And so, you know, besides, I worked on my golf game. I did other things. So, but it wasn't debilitating. It was just the way I was living. But that can only last for so long. Eventually, I just kind of had to get my freedom back, and I had to get my life back. And so, and Chris felt the same way. And over the last few years, there was tension there, you know, and the kids were seeing it and this and that. So when we decided to go our separate directions, honestly, there was no arguing, no yelling, no nothing. Chris went out and found a house, decorated the entire house. We got it at 7 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock that night. She calls me up, says, okay, the house is ready.
Go there.
I went over and every TV was in, the entire house was decorated. I went, that's amazing. How did you do that? Yeah.
I kind of meant, though, more in the generality of your life. As a child, you knew there was something different. You had friends, but there was always part of you, presumably, that was incredibly private because
Yes.
you knew there was something. And were you fretful as a child about it? And I wonder, just thinking about you talk about suicide rates and so forth, that just how scary is it when you think you're the person that you don't appear to be?
Well, see, when I grew up in the 50s and 60s, there wasn't even a name for it. You just had no reason why, you know, that this was a part of you, of sneaking into your mom's closet, trying on clothes, doing this, having, you know, I literally, when I was, 8, 9 years old, would sneak around our apartment complex dressed. And I just got tremendous satisfaction out of it. And I'm going, this is kind of strange. Why? Well, I found sports, and that was my way to be the guy. Never knowing how far I would go with it, but I took it a long way to become the best in the world at something. But it really didn't represent who I was. So for me, I've dealt with this all my life, but never really dealt with it, okay? I mean, saying, what am I gonna do? Besides the 80s, which was terribly, terribly depressing, until recently. And so it was a long progression for me. If there's one thing I have learned over the last 2 years, and that is every story in my community is different. Every story on how you deal with it. Today things are so different for the trans community. The thing that really changed it was the internet. Before the internet, went back in the 80s with me, I could not get any information, okay? I got into therapy just to find a therapist. You know how hard that is? That deals with trans issues. For years I looked, and finally I found one by watching TV, and there was the Orange County Transgender Association. I went, oh my God, I didn't even know there was one. Calling them up and saying, you know, do you know any therapists up in this area? And finally found this lady, Trudy Hill. She was great. And so the next 4.5 years I went into therapy. And yeah, so there was no information. Now with the internet, over the last 15, 20 years, yet they're just, you know, kids sit there under the covers, you know, like, why am I feeling this way? Or information that's out there. Go on YouTube, literally thousands and thousands of videos of people transitioning. So it's different today.
But there's still lots of questions, and you know, I remember, I think in the book earlier on, you say you even as an adult, when you were actually in a hotel room dressing differently from you were to the outside world, you then said, I don't even know if I'm doing that just because I want to have sex with myself. You know, you didn't know. No,
you constantly wonder why. Why is this part of my life? Am I, like I said, is this a sexual thing? Is it, I don't like Bruce and I want to get away from him? And this is my way to escape? Is it the excitement of it? Because I would go out at night. I mean, never got caught. Yay! You know, after all those years, never got caught. I got pretty good at kind of sneaking around, going to hotel lobbies, this and that. And I'm thinking, is it because this is so exciting for me to do? Is that what it's all about? That my life is so dull that, you know, this is the excitement of it all? And so, yeah, you constantly in your head try to figure yourself out. To eventually I came to the place that, wait a second, I really am trans. This is me, okay? And then finally getting the opportunity to be able to be myself. And it's been a wonderful ride, you know, wonderful ride.
Outwardly, you are different. Inwardly, do you allow yourself to feel different, or is it just the way you've always been? You talk about having the soul of a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Have you changed in any way, do you think?
I think I've changed a lot. I've been able to see the world from the other side. So many people, you know, no matter who you are, always wonder, oh my God, what would it be like if they're female to be a guy? Why do guys think this way? Or same way, if you're a guy, you know, you're always curious about the opposite sex. I've gotten to live both. And so for me, it's just such an interesting study on humanity, on people. I lived for 65 years as old Bruce. It takes a while, time, and I'm 2 years in, to kind of leave Bruce behind because he's still in there, okay?
What parts
and
are
let
in there?
Caitlyn live.
What is it about Bruce you think that's still there?
Bruce still, yeah, at first, just because you transition doesn't mean that all of a sudden all your interests are going to change. That everything you did before, you know, you're going to be in nothing but going shopping and hair and makeup and all that kind of stuff.
Not that that's what women really do.
I know that's what we really do, and I enjoy doing that finally, outwardly. I mean, that's all good stuff. I love that stuff. But, you know, for years I raced cars, and I still enjoy doing that, and why not? I'll go race cars. You know, I've had a couple of races last year, mostly because of my sons. They race, and so I'll jump in the car once in a while and go racing, and I have fun doing it. And you know what? Girls can do it. In fact, the last race, me and my son won, so yes, it was fun. I've always flown airplanes. I still fly my airplane. You know, and so I like that I can still do a lot of the fun stuff that old Bruce used to do. I just do it looking a lot better, girl.
Do you think there's a more nurturing side of you you're allowed to come out now, or have you always been a nurturer?
I've always had a nurturing side to me, but definitely it has come out more now. I have 10 children, okay? I have my 11th grandchild the other day. So, yes, thank you. And to me, it's wonderful. You know what's kind of cool about the grandchildren? They only know Caitlyn. Which, and especially in a couple of the cases that I've just become very close to them. My relationships with all of my family, very close friends, in most cases has gotten better. I don't have all of the turmoil inside of me. I'm just free to be myself. Wake up in the morning. Life's so simple for me. I wake up in the morning and just be me. That's so simple, okay? People don't realize how easy that is. No secrets, no nothing. And because of that, I've been able to, in some cases, in most cases, improve my relationship with my loved ones, the people that are close to me. And I think they see that. Why? Because I'm just more comfortable with myself. It's just, I just feel better about myself. In a few cases, with the kids, and we're not going to go into names, but I think it's made us a little bit more distant. But I think that will change with time. Sometimes it just takes longer for some of the kids to come around. And I just have to constantly, my job is to be myself, be true to myself, and the most important thing, be happy.
You talk about the fact the first, as it were, 3/4 of your life has been lived by Bruce. If you want to achieve something in the next 20 odd years, what will it be, both personally and indeed as a campaigner?
What I would like, and what I'm fighting for, first of all, I'm very happy, me. You do get criticized, and if you go online, you see all this crap that's out there. I don't care. Why? I fight the negativity by just being extraordinarily happy in my life and satisfied, okay? But my passion is with my community of trying to help suicide rate, murder rates, all the things, all the problems, the issues that we have, but most importantly, acceptance. I was watching Good Morning America the other day, and they have a guy named Sam Champion. He's the local weather guy in New York. And he knows, mostly does the local weather in New York, but it was the weekend and he was doing the national show. And he has been there at least 25, 30 years. I remember from the old days being back in New York. And they do the little talk around the table. And Sam Champion was there talking about his husband. And I'm laying in bed watching this, and I'm thinking, wow, look how far the L, the G, and the B have come, to where I guarantee you 25, 30 years ago when he was joining up, he had to keep his sexual orientation, in the closet. And here it is just in a short period of, let's say, 25 years, how far that issue has come to where he can be on television and just talking about his husband. I thought, that's where we want to get in the trans community. Trans issues are out there. They're everywhere. They do not have borders. They don't stop at the border. This is part of humanity. And now it's a small part of humanity, but it is definitely a part of humanity. And I just feel like because of where I came from and what I did, that I have this platform that I can make a difference in bringing acceptance to our community. So that's really what my passion is. That's what I would like to see over the next 25, 30 years. It's going to be a fight, but if you look at the gay community over the last 25, 30 years, they fought everything. They fought it legislatively. If they lost, they went right to court and challenged it. You can learn a lot about their process, but eventually, after all of that 25, 30 years of work, the general public came around to their side. At first, marriage equality, everybody voted against it. Every state who voted against it. But they didn't just give up. They kept fighting it, to where now it's accepted, and good for them. That's what I would like for our community, acceptance.
And you're going to be delivering awards tonight. Is that also part of acceptance in your own community?
Yes, it's a good feeling.
It's a difficult community sometimes, an argumentative community.
Of course it is, and that's okay. Everybody. I mean, I got the ESPY Award and, the Arthur Ashe Award, and it was like, all sorts of controversy over that and this and that. I just don't, like in that case, I had a platform, and where I could deliver an 8-minute speech, which was extraordinarily important for me in the context of where I was. I'm at, the ESPYs, the biggest sports award show in the world, and in front of all my peers, dressed in a perfectly executed Donatella Versace gown. I'd never thought that would happen, but it was an important moment, and I worked very hard on the speech and to get it out, because I knew I had to do it right. And it was a great moment. I tried to use that moment. Today, with other things like this, I try to do, these are important moments where you have that platform for a minute or two. And I would like it to work for our community.
I'm just thinking about those ESPY Awards. When you looked out and saw all your peers and saw the applause you were getting and smiles and so forth, did you find that very moving? Was that important to you?
I was very accepted there. I had been to the ESPYs many, many, many times in the future. And I'd sit there and nobody knew my story. And I would sit there and I would see, I do Arthur Ashe. I'd met him many, many, many years ago and had such respect for him and respect for that award. And I'd sit there in the audience and I wonder, it's never going to happen, but if I ever transitioned and, did something, I wonder if that would be part of it. And finally it did happen. And I knew it was a great opportunity for me and for my community. And so I took it very seriously. And it couldn't have worked out better. I couldn't really look at the audience, because I can't see, like LeBron James or Brett Favre or any of these great American athletes, and there I am up there in my gown. That's even too much for me to handle, but I knew it was an important place, an important thing to do. It was my first public appearance, so I'm glad it worked out the way it did. Caitlyn Jenner, thank you very much indeed. Well, thank you. It was so much fun talking to you.
Thank you.